Ladies and gentlemen, it's the CBSI BOLO Show! Now sit back and relax as Brian and Jack recap first appearances, reader buzz, and hottest variants in comic books releasing each and every week. Coming to you from an unidentified command center, here's your host, Brian Wood!
What's going on, guys? It's Brian Simpleman's Comics. Thursday night BOLO Show. Got a great show for you tonight. So, as always, joining me, we have the co-host, a.k.a. Jack DeMayo, a.k.a. Mr. Bolo. Go and introduce yourself, buddy.
What's going on? As Brian said, I am Jack DeMayo, a.k.a. Mr. Bolo. Very excited to be here on Thursday, like every Thursday, ready to talk new comic book day, all the new comic book releases, and what's going on in the market from this week as well as last week.
Right. So, busy week, always. This was a little bit better week than last week, I think, especially with the way the books are. Some of the stories, I haven't read a lot of books, but I read a few, and stories are good. But before we get into it, we got people rolling into the chat now. How we doing on video? How we doing on audio? We got Sean Leggett joining the Simple Jack Bolo Show. People rolling. We got Downright Nerdy Podcast. But as always, in addition to the video version, we do have an audio-only version podcast, and that is the CBSI Comic Book Bolo Podcast. We're available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. In addition to that, gotta give a shout out to our sponsor, SlabbedHeroes.com. Nick Dwortman, Slabbed Heroes. Great prices, right? I just ordered some more books from him. Last week, we reached out to people, they commented, we reached out to people in the chat, talked about doing a little bit of recap from the week before. So, people were asking for it. So we now have the Bolo Rewind, taking a look back at last week. Not too much to look back at last week, is there?
No, there really isn't. Really not a lot moving on the secondary market. If anything, most books kind of took a little bit of a drop this week.
Right. So I will go into, let's see here. Yeah. The one big book, the big winner of last week, of course, is the Jen Bartel Virgin Marvel Tales Avengers variant, correct?
Yes, that definitely was the leader in the clubhouse last week.
So this is selling, what is it, 1 in 50? I've seen completed sales for about $150, $200 right now. Cover price was what, it was a $7 cover, $7 or $8 cover price book.
Right, so that's another one we talk about. $7.99 cover price, $4 wholesale to dealers. You're talking about a $200 buy-in for dealers. So the price where it's going at right now isn't kind of crazy. It's sort of in line and expected where you would expect to see kind of these Marvel Tales going. But we also heard a lot of comments about this one. People didn't love the art on this one compared to some of the other ones.
Yeah, it is kind of a little rainbow brightish. But,
yeah.
I mean, that was the monster book of them all. Everything else is kind of floating around cover. I mean, there's no big, huge jumps, right, from the previous week?
No jumps from the previous week. And I think that this is pretty common. When new books come out, you've got people like us, every other YouTuber has like some sort of new comic book day video, new comic book day picks. So the books releasing that week, they're kind of like the most talked about books in the market. So that's where you get those kind of quick surges. But that's why we add on the show to really play the long game, because those surges are temporary. They're not always common. And the next week, the market moves on to new books. So a lot of the books from last week that were heavily talked about, a book like Savage Avengers comes to mind, has taken kind of a 50% price reduction.
Oh, we got audio spike.
Sorry about that.
Hold on. Are we good?
That's somebody in my kitchen. Yeah, we're good.
Better get them muffins out of the oven.
That's somebody.
Burning them bagel bites.
In my kitchen, chef extraordinaire. Right.
But having said that, some books that we did want to recap again from last week, and that was the deceased variants, right? We had the Matina and the Yasmin Putri, the horror homage variant.
Yes. So these are ones where you're not seeing the spike in the market, but this is one that really plays into what Brian and I talk about on a regular basis. There's a lot of copies moving, especially the Putri variant. So yeah, it's cover price. It's still available at most large retailers. You probably can still find them at your shop on the wall. But I will say that, like, Free Comic Book Day, I saw a ton of people picking this book up. That was a pretty common book that I saw kind of people putting with their Free Comic Book Day purchases or their free comics that they were picking up. When you look at eBay completed sales, tons of $3.99 plus shipping sales. And again, people are willing to pay a little extra, paying the shipping fees and everything. So people are kind of already paying over cover. So it's a book these books I would kind of keep an eye out for. Because there's a clear demand there. And it'll be interesting to see how that demand builds over the next few issues as we kind of, move into the story more, give the story kind of more time to develop. And as these variants kind of become a series of variants, because there's going to be more Matina variants similar to the Batman variant. There's going to be more of these horror movie variants similar to what Putri did here. In the future books. So it'll be really interesting. It's one that we've really got our eye on, but there isn't the data to support any sort of spike right now. But again, that's why we say invest in spec over flip.
Right. Yeah. I think that was my sleeper pick in the Wednesday Warriors that 2 weeks ago for the deceased, the homage variant. But anyhow, so like I said, last week was kind of a really down week, but with that being said, it was the BOLO rewind for last week. So we're going to try to do this each and every week. We're not going to rewind. We're not going to recap everything from the previous week, but at least the big movers and shakers. And then, of course, if there's big losers, we're going to go through that as well. But moving
Hopefully
in,
it'll be a little more action-packed than last week, but, we'll see. Yeah. The market is what the market is, Yeah.
Walt Parrish is asking how the homage is doing. And everything I've seen, it's still selling for around cover, right? Maybe a dollar or so more at the time being.
Right.
But I agree with you. I think that's a long-term, I won't say hold. It's not going to be like some huge movement, but I think that'll be a cover that people, once they dry up down the road, people might be looking for them. Because it has that crossover.
Yeah, I did like so. Absolutely. I mean, matter of fact, the It 2 trailer just dropped today. Yeah. So if you haven't checked that out after the show, go ahead and hit that YouTube search. It definitely looks scary and exciting. So I have a lot of high hopes for that book.
So going into this week, we have the BOLO List. If this is your first time watching this show, just a recap of what the BOLO List is. BOLO stands for Be on the Lookout. And Jack posted on Instagram, right?
Right. Yeah, Instagram.
That was
Facebook,
the origin for it. But now
it's
Go ahead.
It kind of began as like a kind of a real small, simple, just Google Doc file. It's developed and changed over time. Originated, as Brian said, from Instagram, and we've kind of grown it and spread it to all of our social platforms, as well as an accompanying article on comicbookinvest.com featuring the exclusive back issue BOLO section. And we have, obviously, it spawned this show, and we have future BOLO related content coming to this channel as well. So, it's kind of a growing and spreading piece of content.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Especially like when Jack's like, hey, here's the BOLO list. Then 5 minutes later, he's like, hey, here's the corrected BOLO list.
Yeah. There's a typo on this week's too.
Yeah, I saw. The toothpaste is out of the tube, bud. But just recapping it, we go through the confirmed first appearances, the reader buzz for the week, and the variant buzz for the week. And we're just real quick, got more people coming into the chat right now. We got Comic Cats joining us, Walt Parrish, Elephant in the Room. Seeing a lot of familiar names, and that's fantastic. That's one of my favorite words, right? Fantastic to see.
Right.
So
I definitely want to take this opportunity to set.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, just to say, hey guys, do us a favor, make sure you click that thumbs up button. And if you have friends that you think would enjoy this show, share this link out to them. We want to get as many people in here as possible, get the conversation going. I don't want to call it a party because, that's like playing D&D in your mom's basement, I guess. But we usually have a good conversation going. But it is cool if you're playing D&D and you're up, down, down. If you're playing D&D with Alexa Bliss, you got it going on, put it that way.
Right. Right, and I want to take this opportunity to really thank everybody out there who shares our kind of show promo image on whether it's Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. While I try to like and comment on what I can, and while we may not, we trust me, we're seeing it is heavily appreciated. It is the community and the people in the chat that make this show what it is, and why we've been able to grow it to where it is, and why we're confident we can grow it to where we want to grow it to. But it's that core initial audience that has really built and kind of grown from. So we appreciate it. Shout out to all of you who are doing that. You know who you are. And again, trust me, we know who you are.
Right. So you're going to see it's a better week. It still wasn't a great week. So we'll tell you right now, you'll see some comics sprinkled throughout multiple categories. So what we're going to do for time's sake is if we talk on it more in one category, we're kind of going to skim over it in the following. So with that being said, the first appearances for this week, we had Agents of Atlas #1, Thrilling Neighborhood Spiderman #6, Batman Outsiders #1, Detective Comics 1003, and then there was Detective Comics 1001 second print. And we're going to go right into it, starting with Agents of Atlas, or War of the Realms, New Agents of Atlas #1. To say it all there. But so yeah, there's multiple first appearances in this book, right?
Yeah, I mean, this was easily the book of the week, I would say, and kind of on all facets. That's why you see it show up in every category. As far as first appearances, Brian hit the nail on the head. There's several. You've got the first appearance of the Sword Master, first appearance of Crescent and Low, first appearance of Luna Snow, first appearance of Wave, and first appearance of Arrow. These are all brand new characters. They're all part of a big initiative to build out this part of the universe for Marvel. I think that while there's kind of a negative tendency on social media to start crying forced diversity, I would caution people not to do that with this case. Number one, there's nothing forced about it. We're not switching races and genders of characters. We're creating organic new characters. Secondly, what we're doing, again, we've talked about in the show, is what's known as world building. So we're creating characters that support other characters. You see characters in this series like Amadeus Cho, like Shang-Chi. So we're going to get characters to support these kind of existing Asian characters to support these new Asian characters. And it's really important to note that there already is a Shang-Chi movie announced that's in the works. And you know how Marvel is. They haven't done any movies as one-offs. Every movie that's come out has been multiples. So you have to kind of create a world around Shang-Chi. Now, I'm not saying that these Agents of Atlas are, immediately set for big screen appearance, but here's what we know. We know that Comic Odyssey in the Philippines did an exclusive of Wave, with Wave on the cover, who's the first Filipino superstar. And it has done incredible numbers, selling well over its initial offering price on eBay.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it has both a trade dress and a virgin.
Yeah, the trade dress is selling for 100, from what I've seen.
Right. I mean, they're outstanding. And then you have both Arrow and Swordmaster already have been solicited for July new ongoing series. I think they're mini-series, but they're new solo series. So again, Marvel is behind this. There's a huge marketing push behind this. There was a lot of mainstream media coverage of this. And to really sell these characters long-term to the public, Marvel doubled the orders of every store, every Diamond account. It's cover A. And now a lot of people were real negative about that move, saying, it's going to flood the market. But you're kind of missing the point. Again, think long-term. They're trying to get these books in as many hands as possible, which tells me as a speculator, Marvel has long-term plans for these characters. So I'm actually very bullish on these characters. And I think some of the people, who are running out to flip these variants right now may be underselling them. It sounds crazy because the variants are going for good money. The 125 Pyongjun Park is going for 50 to 75. The 150 Patrick Zurcher, who you may be familiar, he's done a lot of Valiant Comics work, a lot of Exo Manowar type stuff, is going for 140 to 160. These prices are moving up, and they are in demand. And like we just talked about, the Comic Odyssey exclusive variant and what it's doing. So I expect stores to to be all over ordering the Arrow and Swordmaster series. It's something that I will probably pre-order, first appearance or not. But there may be more first appearances as they world build each of these individual characters. But I think there's a lot of spec here. I know a lot of times when we talk about first appearances on the BOLO show, we say that, you know, first appearances come out every week and, you know, it kind of becomes redundant and we're not advocating you to buy it. And I still stand in the category of buy what you like. But if you're here on this show because you at all respect myself or Brian's opinion as a speculator, well, I'll tell you that this is a book that I feel good about as a low-risk initial price investment. And one to keep an eye out for is Cover B. Cover B suffers from the typical thing where it doesn't have any of these new characters on the cover. But because of that, it was kind of underordered. It hasn't been talked about, and I think it has a good chance for kind of raising in value on the secondary market.
Right. So in the chat, they're saying they got an ongoing series coming. I know this month's previews have some. I don't know if they're miniseries or ongoing or one shots, but
right.
I know this month's previews already has some of those characters getting their own books.
Yeah, they solicited Arrow and Swordmaster so far.
So what?
And the great thing is, for one purchase, you're getting what, 5 first appearances in this book? 6?
Yeah, it's kind of like the old DC Presents with freaking Cyborg, right? Yeah, like what, four first appearances in there. But my whole thing is, and I knew it, but sticking with buy what you like, and I even put it in the Wednesday Warriors article. To me, that 1 in 50 is going to be hot because of scarcity, but man, compared to that 1 in 25, it's freaking ugly. And I wonder if Marvel looks at them and goes, I don't know how they decide, but I mean, to me, that 1 in 25, if it was the 1 in 50, would be freaking super hot.
Well,
they're all hot.
In my opinion, they put the artists they want to showcase more on the 1 in 25 because they want more copies of those on the market. And it seems like that's the case, because I just kind of looking at this initiative is heavily based on diversity, heavily based on trying to kind of reach some inclusion with the kind of the Asian American, Pan-Asian community. And you're starting to see that, and you see that with the artist being Pyongyang Park. I think that was probably more the move there. And again, don't think that this is just a Marvel thing. Like, there's not a corporation out there that's not trying to penetrate this kind of Asian market. Brian and I are big pro wrestling WWE fans, and that's been WWE's like main goal for the last 2 years, is trying to crack that Asian market because it's so large and there's so much money there. Yep. So, you know, we're gonna see this from Marvel more. But I like this spec a lot. I like it as a long-term play. I think you're seeing short-term results, but this is one to keep a lookout for. And
Marvel, they did double the retailers' orders for free, right? But they didn't double their incentives. Is that correct? I think I heard that they doubled their regular orders, but they didn't double incentives.
That's what I heard. But I will admit, I haven't heard that from a retailer. I heard that secondhand from people who talk to retailers. But so take that with a grain of salt. But that's my belief, is that the actual incentives were not. Which again, puts more value on the incentives. And later in the show, when we talk about my long-term play, I'll actually reverse course and kind of tell you why cover A is kind of your way to go. But so we're going to hit you with all angles here. But I think in general, there's not a cover. If you can get this book at a good price, no matter what cover, I think you're going to be happy, or at least have a dog in the fight.
Right. So, real quick, we're in the first appearances right now. We've just gone through the first book. But I want to take a moment for those in the chat, as we always say. I see a lot of people that have YouTube channels that are in the chat. If you have a channel and you are in the chat, make sure you post your channel name. Or if your name is your channel name, just say, hey, I have a channel, so other people can see it and they can check out your content and subscribe up. So, one big community. Definitely feel like everyone has something to offer. So, a bunch of great people in the chat. So, we're going to move right into the next book, and that was The Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 6 with Spider Bite.
Right. So this is one I did not read. As soon as I put it on the list, I started getting comments that, oh, it's not a real first appearance, it's only in a dream. I don't think that necessarily precludes it from being a first appearance because we don't know what, kind of future issues will hold. Having said that, um, again, it's important to know that the BOLO list is a list. Again, that we're the guardians of the BOLO list, as Brian likes to say. But the BOLO list is the community, what the community is buzzing about, and the community has been buzzing about this book. They were buzzing about this character. Anytime you get a first appearance kind of presented on the cover, it gives a little added attention to the book. But Brian, who's really spearheaded running our Facebook, as he can kind of attest, this was a heavily talked about Facebook book. People in our Facebook group were very bullish on this book. Now, again, I may not think so, but the fact of the matter is there were a lot of people talking about it. So a lot of people picking up multiple copies. A lot of people talking about feeling like it was a good long-term play. And so, again, that's why it shows up here, because if people are talking about it, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, I've seen some couple sales later this evening. I mean, it's like 2 to 4 sales, so it's nothing big. But I mean, I've seen a couple $10 sales. So I mean, there's. I picked it up. I haven't had a chance to read it. I've only been able to read one book so far this week, and that's Flash 70, and it was good. But you have it on the list, so we'll talk about it later.
Yep. As a matter of fact, all I read was Detective 103 and Batman and the Outsiders.
Then, for those that have had a chance to read a bunch of books, that's another good thing. Put in the chat what your favorite book so far this week has been, and especially whether it's on the BOLO list or not, because there's stuff that's on the BOLO list or not on the BOLO list that's in the weekly picks or that's in the Wednesday one. But yeah. Yeah. Next time. Yeah. Get these hands.
It's like a rapper ad lib.
Yeah. So next for the first appearances was Batman Outsiders #1. It's a new team, right?
Right. Well, yeah.
Kinda.
It's pretty close to the old team, but we had a couple new characters. Yeah. Time will kind of tell whether or not these characters will be a part of the team or kind of how they'll play into the story. I'm drawing a blank on the female. There was a female character. Okay, here it is. Sophia Barrera. She's like a metahuman. And then there's the male character appears at the end. His name is Caliber. And there's definitely a Cable Hope Summers vibe between the two of them. Caliber kind of has that look like Cable. He's got the metal arm, big guns, kind of late 80s, early 90s looking. But the point is, we got two new characters in this book, similar to what we talked about with Agents of Atlas, where you've got multiple kind of dogs in the fight here. Batman and the Outsiders has always been a property I thought had a lot of potential, but hasn't really ever taken off. It'll be interesting to see where these characters will kind of go in the future, but I like the look of them. They seem to be important to the story, and the Batman universe is always kind of vast and ever-growing, and I think that I kind of like this spec. I like it as one that's kind of under the radar. These books are still available for cover. It's a #1 issue, and the writer has been heavily promoting this book. I think his name is Brian Hill on Twitter, and he's been talking about these characters. So I think that these are going to be some characters that we're going to hear about more in the future. So there's never a time to get in on a book cheaper than when it's released. Not every first appearance is going to hit, but you can get in on these books at cover price now versus chasing them later.
Right, and I always I can never say his name, so I'm not going to try to say it, but the variant by Sajik, I'm just going to say that.
Yes.
Shaipan, I'm just going to leave it at that. But great artist, he does a lot of great covers. So that's the one that I picked up. Moving on, this was one that a lot of people were kind of aware of. They're aware that there's going to be something that's going on in this book, put it that way. And it was Detective Comics 1003.
Yeah. So this is one, I'm going to kind of put it out here in the community. Do we want to openly talk about this? Last week, everybody wanted spoilers. Do we want to just openly talk about it, or do we want me to be veiled about it? So I'd love to hear from the community kind of how you guys feel.
Yeah. You
But
guys want to? You want spoilers?
yeah, do we want spoilers or do we want to keep it clean here?
It's got Batman in it. Bow.
But in the meantime, while we kind of wait on responses, I'll kind of talk around it. But obviously, the since Detective Comics 1000, the big discussion has been the Arkham Knight. I'm seeing lots of spoiler comments, so we'll go ahead and roll with it.
If not, earmuffs.
Arkham Knight.
If you don't want spoilers, earmuffs.
Right, now's a great opportunity, to kind of mute the video if you don't want to hear anything. Right. But so since Detective Comics 1000, the storyline of Arkham Knight has kind of been the focal point and has gotten a lot of attention. We've talked about it. DC kind of played a fast one with the Detective 1000. You get the last page splash page. Everybody's kind of anticipating Detective 1001 because you kind of got the background silhouette cover appearance a la Batman Who Laughs from Teen Titans 12. And then you really didn't get much in the book. And we've seen the Arkham Knight original video game books and the variants skyrocket. They've made appearances on the Hot 10. They've made appearances on Variant Heat Check on comicbookinvest.com. And we've seen a lot of speculation being that similar to the video game, Jason Todd would be the Arkham Knight. The hard part with that is there's a Red Hook book running right now with its own storylines that have kind of played into the detective series. So that never really made sense to me. And one thing that kind of wasn't thought about was that we have a new character here. That this character is a completely new character. It's not a retcon. It's not some character that, a B character being elevated. We have a new character named Astrid Arkham. And yet, that's right, a female. So we get the reveal in issue 103. She takes the helmet off, beautiful blonde woman. Kind of has a motherly approach with Damian, so we'll kind of see where that goes. But, so this is definitely going to be a confusing first appearance to kind of figure out. But as far as I can see, I think the market is going to call Detective 1000 Arkham Knight cameo. Detective Comics 1000 will get that first full appearance. And Detective Comics 1003 will be the Astrid Arkham first appearance as she is revealed. Now it'll be interesting to see with kind of like our spec soldiers, if anybody goes back into the old Detective Comics or Batman issues and can find Astrid anywhere, but it is definitely believed to be a completely new and original character. And I think the Arkham Knight is a cool character, obviously cool look, cool kind of story and way of going about things. Definitely been very polarizing within kind of like nerd culture, whether it's video games or comics. So if you've watched in previous weeks, I was kind of unsure about this book, about this character, but I am all on board kind of with this reveal. I think that this kind of changes things. It's not just some character that they brought in from the Gamerverse, or I never see the point in ending the Red Hood character just to put him in a different costume. So I really dig this move, and I think that it kind of increases the spec value. And it's not many weeks that we're sitting here talking about first appearances. And, I said Detective Comics 1003, I like. Batman the Outsiders #1, I like. And, obviously Agents of Atlas, I like. So I think that while none of these books, at least at the cover A level, are really popping in the secondary market, they're books that you should be looking at grabbing now because you're not going to get them cheaper.
Right. And having said that, I'm just going to roll right into the next one, which was the second print for Detective Comics 1001.
Right, which becomes more important. So now, instantly, this book becomes more important. There is no doubt in my mind that DC timed this on purpose with 103 and the Astrid reveal coming out the same day as the second print of really the first appearance of the Arkham Knight. I don't expect this to be a heavily ordered book. I think it'll be a tougher find. It'll be a slow mover in the beginning. But, if you look right now, we're just now starting to see the first appearance of Batman Who Laughs in second print start to escalate in price and start to kind of dry up on the market. So second prints take a little bit of time. And you can still find the first print, so that's something that's key. But it's definitely something to keep an eye out for.
Right, and I noticed the first print had that cover, and there was a David Finch cover, right?
Right.
And as not like it's selling for big bucks, but as we predicted, the regular cover's selling more. I think I've seen sales for up to $10 for the regular cover of the first print, and then the Finch is going for like $4 or $5. So, and that is going to wrap us up for first appearances for this week. As we like to always put that disclaimer out there, just because we have it on the first appearance of the BOLO list does not mean run out there and buy a bunch of them and you're going to get rich off these first appearances. We're just saying it's out there, and as always, or what I always say is buy what you like, and that's what I go off of. So, always want to make sure we want to put that out there and not give anyone misinformation.
Yep. Yeah, just it's essentially like those first appearances that I mentioned that I liked. I have no hard evidence any of them are going to pop in the future. It's a lottery ticket. I just happen to like all three of those lottery tickets.
Right, and at $3-4 for a ticket and stash it away.
Right. That's a risk I'm willing to take. Well, what I hate to see is after some big announcement comes, don't be the people getting FOMO running on eBay, chasing the app alerts and paying those exorbitant prices. We've got to be ahead of the game. That's if we're speculators, if that's what we're trying to do, then we need to see that market, kind of see the future. We talked about Facebook. I saw a good comment on Facebook today talking, using a hockey. Don't skate where the puck is, skate where the puck's going. And that's kind of the play with those books.
Yeah, the guy that made that, a lot of times, I don't know if he's in it tonight, but he is in the chat normally. So I will say one couple books that, they've been hot for a while, but I've still been picking them up is some of those Jeff Johns Green Lantern keys, like the Atrocitus and that Green Lantern 25, the Gary Frank variants. I've been picking some of those up, especially when I find them cheap, because if DC ever does that Green Lantern Corps movie or something, I'll get them mostly just because that Jeff Johns Green Lantern run's like one of my favorite run in all of comics.
Right, me too.
If they start announcing that movie, depending on how Warner Brothers goes, I think Jeff Johns being creative, he's writing the screenplay. Yeah, the screenplay for it. So who knows? Either way, good books to have, whether it's a movie or not, in my opinion.
Those are an example of books that, if you remember back 6-8 months ago when there first was talk of the Green Lantern Corps movie, those books all spiked. Yeah. If you look now, they've kind of come back down to earth a bit, and that's what we talk about. This, real estate is location, location, location. Comic speculation is timing, timing, timing. Don't buy when everyone's talking about it. Brian's absolutely right. There is a lot of plays right now that were popular, say, 6 months ago, a year ago, that have kind of forgotten about and are ripe for the picking right now.
Yeah.
So if you're right now, you're chasing Nova, or if you're chasing Better Ray Bill, you're probably making mistakes. You missed that boat. But
Eternals.
Right. Yeah. But there's plenty of other ones that you can start to look at, especially with today's announcement that Chris Hemsworth signed for 4 more movies. You want to start looking at Hercules or Ares or some things like that. I think there's some money to be made there.
Yep. So, with that being said, we got Emiliano Beggs. He had to leave. He's in the chat. He came back. I want to give a big shout out to Emiliano Beggs. Of course, I missed it on this screen right now, but everywhere else, if you notice, I got a new logo that's been floating around out there between a lot of social media. Emiliano Beggs, who's in the chat, is the one that made that logo for me, so huge shout out for him. And he's Notorious Comics on Instagram. Make sure you follow him, and if you guys need logo work, make sure you reach out. And he does graphic design, so that's the guy to reach out and talk to. So,
which reminds me, guys, you've also heard us talk about cbsiswag.com. Where you can buy CBSI merchandise, T-shirts, hats, hoodies. If you like some of the designs that you've seen Brian and I wear, some of the character tees as well as the baseball tees, those are going away May 31st.
Yes.
They are clearing out old product, bringing in new product.
Better be Skeletor.
If you've been kind of sleeping on getting a shirt or thinking about getting a shirt, now is the time to do it. Again, May 31st, I like to say they're going away like a Thanos snap. It's now is the time to jump on those.
Yes. So definitely cbsiswag.com if you guys want any of those graphic shirts. Yeah, and yeah, I'm bringing that freaking Skeletor shirt. But
I think I saw a process pick. I think one's coming.
yeah, I know Leggett and I've been asking for a while, and Leggett says he wants black, not purple, for them Vegas, wherever the hell they're playing Raiders.
Yeah. And I'm a Gamecock. We don't wear purple. That's Clemson colors.
So we've gone through the first appearances. We're going to go now into the Reader Buzz section of the BOLO list. And I'm sorry to Elephant in the Room, who was missing the old the buzz sound effect. I kind of took that out still. But we do have a summary of what the Reader Buzz section has this week. Again, we had Detective Comics in there. We have Flash 70, Agents of Atlas again, Metal Shark, Afterburn, Lee Savage Shores, and Three Stooges. So, do we want to talk about Detective again? Do we have more to talk about, or just kind of?
No, I mean, I really think we covered it. Yeah. The Reader Buzz really surrounded people wanting to see where Arkham Knight was going to go. Right. So that's really the whole thing. This whole week was very much a Reader Buzz week.
Yeah. So, but the next one up is Flash number 70. This kicks off the year one story arc, right?
Right. So, Flash is finally getting that year one treatment that, Batman and Superman have gotten. And if you look at sales of Flash since Rebirth, Flash has become really a major character for DC. It's been one of DC's highest selling series. And I think that's definitely due to the quality of the TV show on the CW and the increased fan base.
Yeah, and this has definitely been one of the few Rebirth books that I've kept up with since the Rebirth launch. I've read, and it's the only book I've read this week. To me, it started out like the same old Barry Allen story, but the last few pages of it, he's figuring out he's got powers and he's running through a bunch of shoes, and next thing you know, he's in the future. So the last few pages is him in the future, and he runs into basically his future self. Like, what the F are you doing here? But
right, and I know that some people want that as a first appearance. I didn't include it. I don't know that like Old Man Barry is going to be a character we're going to see. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that one, but again, there was plenty of good first appearances this week. I didn't want to steer you in that direction.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it, especially for the kickoff for the year one. Be excited to see where it goes. Next, I'm going to kind of skip over the next one also, which was Agents of Atlas again. I think we've kind of spoke on that plenty.
Yeah.
So next, this was one Scout Comics and Reader Buzz, and it's true to its word, man. I've been hearing people talk about it since release and really love this issue. And it's Metal Shark Bro #1, right?
Yeah, Metal Shark Bro. So yeah, this one is kind of interesting.
As Walt Parrish put in the chat, Metal Shark do.
This one's kind of interesting because there's only a few sales and there's not a lot listed online. There's also, if you're looking for this book online, you got to look two ways. Metal Shark is one word and Metal Shark is two words because people are doing both.
Yeah.
The incentive is going for about 20, so it's double ratio. The regular book is selling for about cover, but again, it's only 14 copies for sale online, both spellings. So I mean, that's just something to keep an eye out for. Like it's not heavily available. This is the first book in Scout's new binge imprint, and if you're not familiar with their binge imprint, it's kind of a unique idea. A lot of people were buzzing on the TKO publisher release, where they released kind of like a binge Netflix style. Here's a 6-issue miniseries. We're going to release all at once. We'll ship them to you in a box.
I like Sarah.
Yeah, a lot of people really like that series.
Yeah, I like Sarah. Of course, you got to buy it from a reader's perspective on those TKO books because they print on demand. So
right, they're never going to be worth anything.
Yeah, but they're great. They're great stories, and you can buy them floppies or you can buy them in a box of like the whole series. So if you want to read and good stories, definitely I can recommend Sarah from TKO Comics is really good.
But I like what Scout's doing, where they're kind of like they're trying to kind of mimic the same model, but at the same point do it a little differently. So they're releasing this #1 issue. They hit the collector's market because you've got an incentive variant. It's not print to order like Brian was just talking about. And then after issue 1, the rest of the series will be collected in a trade. So if you like issue 1, when they release the next issue, you can read everything else, the rest of the story. And I kind of like that. I think it's a unique way to do it. It's a way to kind of hit both markets where you're still trying to introduce this binge method of storytelling, which I like because I don't like reading the floppy a month and trying to keep up with 20 different stories and 10 different TV shows, and my brain can only handle so much. But I like the idea of doing it this way, where I can test out a #1 issue, see if I like it, and if I like it, then I'll binge the rest. It hits collector's market and the reader market. So yeah, again, shout out to James Hake. He did a really great job with this one. It's the Scout CEO. This is really a unique kind of way to release product on the market. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if more companies try to find ways to approach this kind of binge release of content.
Right. So do you know if Scout has these available on their website?
I don't. I did not check, but that is definitely something to keep an eye out for. The Scout, that they regularly post even incentives into their web store.
Yeah. So definitely, if your LCS doesn't have them, definitely check out their website, because but I'm getting the black lung pop. But moving on, this was Afterburn Crossfire #1.
Right.
Isn't this one that Gerard Butler, I think, signed on for an Afterburn movie with Red 5?
Yeah, so Red 5 has a lot of things cooking. You may be familiar with them for The Rift. The Rift was hot. It was a Hot 10 book. We talked about it early in our IG kind of like expansion days. That was a big book. The Rift was purchased by Steven Spielberg. It's going to be part of an anthology series coming to Apple TV. Soon after that, Afterburn got picked up. Afterburn was released as a trade paperback originally.
I was going to say, because this is like the second, right? Or
yeah.
I know Afterburn had a previous release.
Right. But this is a movie. It's going to be a movie. It's a Gerard Butler movie. And the reason why I like this is, again, world building. They may have not had enough story from just that trade to do a movie. You may have to look at sequels. That I haven't read this yet to know there may be first appearances in this book that may appear in the first movie. We don't know yet. But Red 5 is a company that is partnered with a movie production company. Almost every one of their releases is in some sort of pre-production already. There is a preview for this Afterburn Crossfire in the Red 5, the Dark Age free comic book day issue, which if you follow us on Instagram at Comic Book Invest CBSI, then you will see that we have already talked about that book is the big winner from Free Comic Book Day, already selling for $10 to $15 because the Dark Age has already been optioned for production in a movie. So these are books to keep an eye out for, these Red 5 books. It's another thing where if you go online, you're not going to see a ton of listings, 10 to 15 listings or so. So, and honestly, I put a BOLO out on that trade paperback because that's first. It's the only way those characters and stories were released. It's selling for about $10 to $12 shipped. I think it's undervalued, and we've seen in the past trades and graphic novels where it ends up really being a first appearance, a legit first, because there wasn't floppies released, popping in the market. There's plenty of precedent for that, so I think that's something to keep an eye out for.
Right. My personal opinion, I agree with a lot of that. But if I'm buying them, I'm not buying a bunch of them because they get hot. The movie gets optioned. The movie comes out, and the next thing, the movie goes away, and the comics are still good, but you have your Road to Perditions, your History of Violence, your history. Right. So you have those movies that were based on comics, and the comics, they're not super hot, but you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't expect to.
No, the key with this, again, it comes down to, spec game, timing. I wouldn't go heavy long because you've got to move your copies pre-release of the movie. And then, let's be honest, Gerard Butler is not Hollywood A-list at this point. So the movie needs to be good. Having said that, if you buy copies at cover price, if you're buying the trade for $10, and they put out a good trailer, just intrigues people, you'll be able to make money.
Yeah.
The key is get out at that point.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the get out point. You don't want to be sitting there while the movie's in theaters trying to sell that book.
Yeah. Yeah. Started hearing more casting news and then a trailer. There's different times to kind of unload some of those books if you pick them up. But next, which is of course one of my favorite freaking titles right now, and definitely my pick of the week for your BOLO list, is These Savage Shores #4, which I haven't had a chance to read yet, but I got my copy.
I haven't read it yet either, but the reader buzz on this is huge. Apparently, there's some events in this book that are going to take the story up a notch, so I'm excited to read it. It's selling for $10 shipped. It's one of 2 books on this list. I think the average speculator, the average collector, if they were to look at this list and say, what books are selling really well over cover, this book and another book we haven't talked about yet, I don't think a lot of people would be the first book they would pick, but it's solid $10 shipped and moving upwards. There's not a lot of copies available. You had a long drought between issue 3 and issue 4, and I think that sometimes retailers fade off. Again, you're past that initial release buzz, but that's where you got to really pay attention to solid reader buzz, because These Savage Shores buzz continues to increase as time goes by. People are loving this series. And admittedly, it took me a long time to jump on board. But at this point, I'm very bullish on the series. And something to keep an eye out for is about to release
those Mondo-type reprints, right?
Oh, yeah, the Mondo-style reprints. So you're getting, a 3rd or a 4th print for issue 1, a second print for issue 2 and 3. If you haven't seen these covers, guys, look these up.
Yeah,
they are incredible. I posted them to the comicbookinvest.com Instagram. So if you go to our profile page, you can see them there.
And they're coming out the 22nd.
22nd. They are incredible.
So, and they spawned us on the cover, right? I mean, I think up until the day before, the night of release, they had a different looking. They were solicit type they were using for the cover. But
right, I think there's some reveals going on here. So
yeah,
like I said, I haven't read it yet, but I'm real bullish on this series in general.
Yeah. I just look at the cover and think of them going, I don't say blah, blah, blah. But still, Ram V, awesome writer on this series. And was it Sumit Kumar, I think is the artist on it?
Yes.
Definitely.
And I tell you what, Ram V's another one, if you're on Twitter. Very active on social, heavy promoter, loves to talk to people reading his books.
Yeah, and he's all over. He's writing this. He's been writing, was it the War Scrolls? He had a story in the War of the Worms War Scrolls. He had...
he's an up-and-comer.
Yeah, he wrote one of the backup Catwoman issues within past 5 issues ago.
There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be signed and exclusive to the big 2 soon. I love his work with Vault. I think he's doing a great job, but he is an absolute star. I think he's really somebody in the making. And
like Jack just said, he's one of those guys who's very active on social and responds. So great guy, great writer. So I enjoy supporting him, especially with this story, because it's easy to support him on this story because it's freaking awesome. But moving on to last in the reader buzz, which I would have never thought you would have put one of these books on here, but I'm glad you did. And we got Three Stooges, Astronauts #1. It just kind of rolls off the tongue.
I put these on. I put these on here for a reason, because this is not the first American mythology book where we've seen total sellouts at large retailer.
Yeah, like some of the Pink Panther ones.
But when you go on eBay, that's exactly the point I was going to make. Pink Panther was the big one. Yeah. But there's a few things to really watch out for with American mythology releases. This book sold out Midtown, My Comic Shop, all of those kind of places. And it sold out in all covers. But when you look on eBay, there's maybe 3 sales total. So is there a demand there really for this book? Now, you'd say, well, there's a demand because it's sold out at retailer level. But I really wonder how many copies even the large retailers are ordering. And because they have the largest kind of customer base, or at least the most visible worldwide customer base, they're going to sell out these books the best. But The Pink Panther book is an example where there was a 1 in 10 incentive variant. It was selling for $50, $60, $75 post-release. I think it even landed on the Hot 10. And it was available on the publisher's website for like $6 a week later. So if you really want this book and you can't get it at your retailer, look at the American Mythology website, because I haven't checked myself, but I'm almost positive you're going to be able to find copies, at least at ratio.
Just don't hope for
So
9.8.
that's something to kind of
Don't hope for 9.8 in the mail.
Certainly don't do that, because I went through that with the Pink Panther situation. So their shipping is suspect. But that's really, what I wanted to talk about with this one is you also have to check the demand. Sometimes these books sell out. We've been accused of just pumping sellout books from like Midtown and stuff. And again, that's not what we're trying to do. So this is a great opportunity to talk about that and say that, sometimes these books sell out, but, there has to be enough demand, not just for a book to sell out at retail, but then for more people to want it so that they're willing to then go pay over retail to get this book. And the fact remains, it remains to be seen whether or not people are willing to pay that over retail secondary market price for these books. I highly doubt it.
Right, and I will say, not to say that the Three Stooges title is hot, but usually every time they have an issue come out, whatever that C cover is, or whatever that, if there's 2 covers, it'll be the second one. If there's 3 covers, it's the third one. But usually you'll always see it sold out, so you don't see that many covers. But that's not to say, hey man, this book's selling out, go out and buy them all. But there's people out there that like to read them, and those variant covers for it usually sell out.
In the chat, Nick Dwartman from Slabbed Heroes said that the photo cover, the C cover, has 350 copy print run, but is still available at Diamond. So, like, again, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, it's sold out at Midtown. It's sold out at my comic shop, but it's still available at Diamond. So, it's not really a true sellout. It's not one to sit there and think that you're then going to see those typical gains. So, I'm not advocating you buy this. I think you grab this if you want, if you're a Three Stooges fan, you want to check it out. Yeah. If it's a PC buy, absolutely. I think American Mythology is a cool company. Yeah. I think they put out cool books. I like those licensed kind of fringe Betty Boop, and there's a market for that stuff. But we have not seen that market really cross over into the secondary market, except that one Pink Panther. Yeah. And speculators learn their lesson from those.
Yeah. I do love Three Stooges, though. Like Sunday mornings, or sometimes we catch it on like AMC early in the morning, or some of the independent channels. But yeah, my dad used to love Three Stooges, so I grew up watching it, and it's still funny. It's funny to watch. But so that wraps up the Reader Buzz section for this week. Speaking of which, we mentioned him. We got Nick Dwartman in the chat. He's the owner of SlabbedHeroes.com. That is the sponsor for this channel. So definitely check out his website. Great prices. He's got a bunch of stuff. He's getting ready to go to MegaCon. He's got a bunch of stuff on his site for CGC Signature Series. A lot of MegaCon stuff. Definitely check it out. With that, we're going to roll right into the Variant Buzz section for this week. Again, there's not too much overlap here, at least, so that's good. And that's
yep.
We got Age of
very light week for variants.
Yeah, so we're just gonna roll right into it. I'm gonna skip over. Do you want to go Radiance Atlas, or are we good?
No, I think we talked about it. We talked about what the pricing and the artists behind the 1 in 50 and 1 in 25.
All right, and we just had Brett Hess join us. Brett Hess art, guys. Welcome, Brett. So this was Honor and Curse #1. This was the second print.
Correct. Yeah, so Honor and Curse, obviously we've talked plenty about this. Head to comicbookinvest.com and check out that Honor and Curse #1 CBSI variant from Mauricio Villanueva of Knights of the Golden Sun. But Honor and Curse is building. It's really building buzz. I think that almost a good thing for Honor and Curse is going to be when Knights ends, which is in 2 weeks with issue 7.
Hiatus.
Because it will allow the kind of it's kind of will
the
allow
first
Mad
chapter.
Cave, which is a smaller company.
Yeah.
Right, they had the first part of the trilogy, but it'll allow Mad Cave, which is still a smaller company, to put more of their promotional effort into Honor and Curse, which is another series which has received just, incredible reader buzz, and we talked about this on our debut of our Indie Spotlight show with Chris Sanchez from Mad Cave Studios. That Honor and Curse actually had a higher initial sellout, like a percentage wise. It sold out more faster. It was in more demand from Diamond than Knights was, but Knights has kind of been the secondary market champion. And again, as a speculator, that tells me there's still meat on the bone with Honor and Curse. And the second print comes out, and you're seeing $8 to $10 sales already. There's very few listed. There's 5 listings currently active. 2 of them are at cover price plus shipping. The other 3 are above cover price. You're looking $10, $12, $15 listings. This is one I expect to do well. I will also say, while we have a good relationship with Mad Cave, we have not been able to confirm any of this information, but Hollywood sources are buzzing on Honor and Curse. There's a lot of talk of a possible optioning. I definitely think my kind of speculator ears are buzzing, and I think something's in the works there, but certainly not something we can confirm or report at this point. But all of that is reason why, if you can pick this book up for cover price, I advocated. I think it's a good buy. But like most Mad Cave releases, your biggest obstacle is going to be finding it at an LCS, because these books are still ordered at like the 1,000 to 3,000 level print runs.
But Jack, tell them where else they can find it, though.
Another great place, and we've talked about this with 2 other publishers, Mad Cave Web Store. The Mad Cave Web Store has done a great job of putting in stock books. They've improved their shipping method. So that's a place I would check out if you're still looking for copies of this second print. If you're looking at pre-order indies like this, I would check out batcomicshop.com. They are an indie exclusive pre-order company. You can get your pre-orders in right now for July. Don't miss out on these indie releases, which then become incredibly, incredibly difficult to source later.
There's no track record yet, right? But I'm seeing indie titles stay relevant longer than what they used to a few years ago. Before, you'd see a quick, an indie title would shoot up real quick, and then like within a week or two just die down. Some of these titles they're lasting a little bit longer. They still have that little trail off effect, but they're not trailing off. They're still decent priced on the secondary market, which is a good trend to see.
I think the boom in indie comics is going to continue, because the reality of the situation is it's all content, it's all IP, and which we talked about that a couple weeks ago, intellectual property. These things are getting bought up by these streaming services, by these movie companies, and 10 years ago we were seeing indie books from like Image get optioned for movies, but now you've got like the first look deal that just got announced between Dark Horse and Netflix. So now you're going to see any book that comes out in the future from Dark Horse, Netflix is going to have the first opportunity to jump on. With the streaming services, movies tend to take 3, 4, 5 years to produce. You've got to write the script. They've got to put together the production team. They've got to scout, cast, wardrobe, all of that. TV tends to move a little quicker. So I think that the indie kind of comics boom is going to continue. There's a lot of great stories, a lot of diverse stories, and these services, they're looking for content. And we've talked about it before on the BOLO show. There is no better platform, I think, for comic book content than Netflix.
We're all freaking dying here, freaking allergy coughs. But yeah. Check out.
I'm struggling here.
Definitely check out their web store. And we did have that interview with Chris Sanchez from Mad Cave. You can see that interview. It is available on Simpleman's Comics, or my YouTube channel, I guess I'll say. Just check it out. We have a playlist for it, which we created that playlist because there's only one show in the Indie Spotlight show right now, but we have more content for more shows of the Indie Spotlight with Andy Tomberlin. We have some things lined up. Kind of mentioned it last week.
Yep.
Some stuff with some Boom, some creators with IDW, and then we even got, right now we have Vault and Vault Comics coming up as well. So be on the lookout for those videos.
Absolutely.
But moving on into the variant buzz section, this was like one of my favorite covers of the week, and that is the Marvel's annotated number 3. This was the cover C, right? The Delato variant.
Right. So this is another one where this is the other book I referenced earlier where I said I don't think people realize what this is truly selling for. It was on everyone's radar. This was the type of cover when the cover art was released, it got posted everywhere on Instagram. But I've noticed a trend with a lot of these like early popularity art books where they get put out early, they hit Instagram everywhere, and then people move on. And I kind of didn't expect this one to do well because I thought it would be heavily ordered pre-FOC because the picture and the imaging was out there. It's a home run. Look, I don't need to sell you on the artwork of this. Delato is amazing. Silver Surfer Galactus is a classic battle. We're moving into Phase 4 and beyond of the Marvel Cinematic Universe where we're going to get these characters, where now that's all under the Disney banner. I think that almost what I thought maybe would even hurt this book is the trade dress, because when the art was solicited, you never saw the trade dress on it, and the trade dress definitely takes away from it a bit. Having said that, there are only 16 listings for this book, so it's not heavily out there, and they're selling solidly for $10 to $15, with the last couple sales being at $15. So this is a book to keep an eye out for. Be on the lookout for this one. If you see this one for cover price at your LCS, I'd grab it. With the quality of this cover art and the way that this book seems to be drying on the secondary market, I wouldn't be surprised if this is another back issue classic, another kind of classic variant that collectors will want to own.
Right, and it's got it's a thicker book, right? And it's got that what's that the binding on it called? I forget, the box, whatever.
Right, right. Yeah, it's an annotated book. It's the reprint of the re-releasing of the Marvels series that from Alex Ross.
Right. So I did hear some people complaining that a lot of the covers they got from Diamond, the way they're shipped and how thick it is and everything, they got damaged books. So.
Yeah.
And keeping with Delato, this is another great book that I had in weekly picks. And I think you nailed it with the Wednesday Warrior when you talked about it. It's a Dark Horse book. It's a Delato. Delato books, some of these, they go up and they come down. But with it being Dark Horse, I think it kind of has more of a chance than those typical where Delato was doing regular covers for Spiderman every release. But
well, yeah, that's why I like this book. You don't see Delato do a lot of indie books. And certainly Delato's been a CBSI favorite to the point that, we can comfortably say that there are a lot of Delato PC, gotta buy every book that comes out type of collectors. There's a lot of Delato completionists out there, excuse me. So I look at a book like this, which has been under the radar of a lot of people. There are very few of these copies listed on eBay, a few sales. We're seeing cover price plus shipping, but again, very few listed online. It was sold out at Midtown. If you're not familiar with the Wired story, it's kind of about a guy who can't die, who solves cases that are like too strange for the U.S. government, some kind of fantasy MIB type, but assassin type thing, kind of spy fantasy novel type thing. It's a cool story. I haven't fully read it. I've only kind of read some synopses and I checked out some previews in preparation for the show, but it intrigued me a bit that I do want to check it out now. And again, we just talked about first look deal from Netflix. That increases the spec value of everything Dark Horse. Now, again, a lot of the Dark Horse's best books that I've seen people talk about, whether it's Briggs Land or, Umbrella, or not Umbrella Academy, Black Hammer, those have already been optioned by companies that won't be included in the deal. It's more for like the future stuff. But I look at this in a play more for those Delato completionists that this is one that could be very hard to find. Ben Stein, who is the writer of the Hot 10, he is also on Tales from the Flip Side with Brian on the Tales from the Flip Side podcast. If you're not watching that, check that out Monday nights at 9:30 Eastern. He's a guy who has covered a lot of books like this, where he's covered a lot of books where they're by popular artists who have done certain indie covers that become very obscure. And just again, trying to look into my crystal ball 10 years down the road, I could see this being one of those type of books because we just don't see him do books like this. It makes me wonder, was he a fan of this book? Was he friends with one of the creators? How did this all come to be? But very cool book, something to keep an eye out for going down the road.
Yeah, I'd be anxious to see the print run on this, especially when the way you were just talking about it, it kind of, not that it will, but could have the possibility of becoming that. What's that art germ book? The witches. Was it like A?
Right.
What's like really. The book isn't that great, but that cover is great, and it's not easy to find. So, who knows? Blue Green Artifact says he got one, and I kind of agree. It's not his greatest cover, but it's a Delato, and some people might, the collectors are fanatics.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't stack up to the Marvel's annotated, no doubt. Yeah. But yeah, it's more about that completionist. If I'm a Delato fan, and like he's really somebody I'm buying all his covers, then I'm gonna grab that Marvel's annotated. I'm also gonna grab this Wired. Yeah. But I think it's more likely that a store didn't order this, and this is gonna be a tougher find.
Yeah. If anything, I think you might see a short spike if it's not as easy to find as these people are, because of that Delato name. Because you've already seen some articles and people comment like anything Delato should definitely be at the top of everyone's list because he's the best artist ever right now. At least that's how I read. That's how I read the comments. That's how I think they sound. But yeah,
right. That's your Facebook voice.
Yeah, it's Facebook. But with that going on, that's gonna wrap up the variant buzz for this week, right? We're gonna go right into long-term play. So this week for your long-term play, I didn't save off just the regular cover, so I'm just gonna bring it up here. All of them. And your long-term play was New Agents Fat List #1, the cover A, right? Was it cover A?
Cover A, yep.
Cover A.
Yep. And again,
Alpha.
The basis of this is, again, skate where the puck's going, not where it's at. And if this is the pick of the week, clearly, what is everyone buzzing on? Everyone is buzzing on those incentives. And I have prided myself as a speculator. This is my personal strategy. I want overall profitability. I'm not looking for one book or this or that. You can keep the one sale that makes you more money. I want to make more money on the book in general. And you got to look at accessibility. If I'm trying to buy into this book, I believe in this book long term. My buy-in on these variants were high from the get-go. Very few people. I saw a lot of people who pre-ordered the incentives from their LCS. I heard a lot of unfortunate, tragic horror stories of LCSs not honoring prices. I hate that. But it does happen when these books spike like this. Also, everything that makes the incentives popular, the limited nature of them, is why we're seeing those spikes. But while everyone is chasing those incentives and down-talking the cover A because of the doubled print run, people are still missing the point. How much do you really think this book was ordered? I mean, 50,000 maybe at most? So if you double the cover A and you make it 100,000, again, we're playing into the Asian market, which has millions of potential buyers. On top of, we've already proven if a book gets hot, 100,000 is nothing for the U.S. comic market. People forget that in the 90s, people were buying 1 million comics of every issue. And again, issues can get hot and sustain 100,000, no problem. And I think for all of those reasons, if you go to your LCS, you're not going to see covers on the shelf, but you'll see cover A. And I think cover A is a solid buy for the same reason. For $4, you're getting 5 first appearances. That's less than $1 per first appearance you're investing. You have a lot of opportunity to make money. If any one of these characters becomes a star, you've made your money. And for the price of one in 25 variant, I can buy like 10 of the regular cover. If the regular cover goes up to $20, I'm going to be sitting on a ton of profit. And so I think when you look at it from a profitability and a risk standpoint, the smart play today is cover A. Now, if you got in on this 3 months ago, my hat's off to you. You did a great job. But if you're looking to get in on this today, I would watch those variants over the next couple weeks to see if they drop, similar to the way like we talked about Savage Avengers, Year of the Villain. A lot of these variants dropped in price from week to week. If we see that from new Agents of Atlas, which I honestly doubt, and you see, say, a 50% price reduction, yeah, go ahead, jump on it. But if the prices trend in the same direction, I think that, at that point you're going to be chasing. And your better option is get these cover A's before they dry up. Because if the prices of the incentives continue to skyrocket, cover A's will sell out at retail, or even with the doubling of the copies. If they sell out at retail, they'll go up as well. And so, again, now is the time. You'll never get them cheaper. So, I mean, that's my big reason for that play is, it's accessibility, it's affordability, as well as, we don't need to be just sheep. It depends on what you're doing it for. And again, I'm talking speculation here. I'm talking an investment. If you're going to collect and you want that 1 in 50 or 1 in 25, by all means. But if you're looking for an investment, you don't need to have the 1 in 50. And I think that it becomes this keep up with the Joneses mentality that makes us feel like we have to speculate on the highest ratio variant. And I find myself making more money off the low-hanging fruit, cheaper spec plays, which is why a lot of times on the show I advocate the IDW stuff, or Boom or stuff like that. Because they're just, while everyone's going in this one direction, I'll go in a different direction. And when the market comes to me eventually, I will be prepared.
Right. So I know in the Wednesday Wednesday Warriors, you had the Giuseppe Camuncoli connecting variant. And, I mean, those are selling decent, right? I think they're averaging $10 on sales right now.
Right, yeah. I hate the cover because it's the only one that doesn't have the first appearances on it. But I at the same point I like it because I think no one ordered it. I don't think it's going to be. You're going to see it out there. There's a good chance it'll dry up and be gone months down the line.
Yeah. So long-term play. A couple books that I wanted to talk about that aren't on the BOLO list. I think we're starting to see it, and that's the Catwoman number 11, the Art Germ variant that came out this week, right? I think you even mentioned it. So there's some Art Germ fatigue. But with that being said, the number 12 that he's got coming out next, the cover on that one is freaking hot. That's one of his best covers he's done in a while.
And it's kicking off a series of him doing these Catwoman kind of homage variants. Yeah. So 12 is just the start. We're going to see 13, 14, I think 15. And there's been, honestly, there was some buzz for 11. I actually had a comment complaining that I didn't put 11 on the list. But I honestly had seen a lot of buzz. I pre-ordered 11. Yeah. I think 11's a home run.
Right. Another book that I think some people in the chat was...
Go ahead.
The Excellence from Image. I don't know if anyone's read that.
That's where That's where I was going to go next. Yeah, that was another one. Andy from the Indie Spotlight series. He highlighted that book as well. There was some talk about it. It just wasn't quite at the level of some of the other Reader Buzz books this week. But that was one of those books that people liked once they read more than they liked off the solicit. We didn't hear a lot of buzz. And people need to understand this. The BOLO list is built off pre-release buzz. If people then get the book on release day and love it, the list is already out there. So that's kind of how that book was. People really liked that book on release day. So that's a book, if you're at your LCS, keep an eye out for that book for sure.
Also, if you go over to comicbookinvest.com, there's a one-stop shop. This is the name of the shop. There's a giveaway on comicbookinvest.com right now for a one-stop shop variant of Excellence number 1. Pretty easy giveaway contest. Just go over there and check out the article for all the details. Right? One-stop shop.
Follow the link to One Stop Shop. Yep, and if you follow the link to One Stop Shop's site, they also have a Die number 1 variant. So that's another thing to keep an eye out. If you're looking to save on shipping, maybe you want to pick up a couple. But yeah, join the contest, man. It's free. Take a shot.
And before we wrap stuff up, we got Writers Wars. I can't speak. But if you're participating, we have 17 participants, right? And if you're participating, you should get your entries in by the night. When was the cutoff?
Yeah. If you're participating in Writers' Awards, if you're one of the 17 people, we need those articles in by the 9th. We have several of them. I'd say more than half of them, but we're still short some, so we need
Which
we
is
need to get
today.
some more of them in. Right. So yeah. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope everybody has gotten those in. We will begin posting the articles probably 2 to 3 days around like the 11th. We'll run a few a day. And yeah, we want your feedback, guys. So that's when to get up in those comments. Let us know what you think about the concept, the execution. How did the writer do? Again, be nice. Understand that these are people that are really stepping out on a ledge and trying to do something that they haven't done. Most of them have no, say, like writing experience on a professional level. So give them the opportunity to do their thing. But yeah, give the feedback. Let us know what's going on, what you like, what you don't like. I'm very excited for Writers' Wars. It's another thing. We got a new logo for Writers' Wars. So check out that's posted also on the Comic Book Invest,
Which was
CBSI
made by?
Instagram account.
Who made that logo?
Emiliano. That's another Emiliano logo.
Yep. I did like how
definitely, if you guys are looking for
I did like how you
design
said,
work, hit
like,
him up.
get all up in them comments, guys. Get up in them comments on them Writer Wars.
Yeah, get them. No, but we want that back. We want to know, because we've said this. Like, yeah, Writers' Wars is a contest.
Yeah.
There's going to be a winner. But at the same point, we've in the past years we've added more than just the winner to the team. So we want to know what's successful, what's working, what's not. Brian and I are heavily involved in content management and production. So, it's something that for us personally, we want to know what's hitting with you guys and what isn't.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say, you said they weren't professional writers. I imagine them all looking like Angela Lansbury in Murder, She Wrote, with the big old typewriter. But yeah, definitely. Give them good feedback. Give them comments. Constructive criticism is welcome, but man, don't be an a-hole. I mean, it's not easy writing articles. That's for sure. That's why I stick with my ugly face on the video. when say words like, I like it. It's good. It's gooder. It's my pick. Wednesday Warriors out. But, so that wraps up the BOLO list for this week, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully this should be a better week, so the recap next week should be a little bit stronger as well. And as always, we're always open to recommendations, content that you guys want to see in the show. By all means, reach out to us and let us know. Jack, anything left to say?
No, just again, want to thank everybody who has liked this video, who subscribed to the channel, who shared our graphics on Instagram. We appreciate you guys. We have built this community through word of mouth, through your effort. We've never put $1 into advertising. So at this point, we've cultivated this community through you guys, and it is greatly appreciated. And be sure to share with any of your comic book, your nerd friends. Let them know that we are going to be here consistently every Thursday. Brian and I are both sick this week, and we're here anyway, talking comics. Wouldn't have it any other way. So yeah, I look forward to next week checking on some of the prices this week. Agents of Atlas, one for sure. That I'm really interested to see where it moves. So yeah, let us know in the chat what books you think this week will go up, what books you think will go down.
Right, and I just want to give a couple quick shout outs. Comic Cats, they're in the chat. Make sure you check out their YouTube channel. Great channel. If you guys aren't familiar, the Tuber Tuesday video this week where I highlighted another YouTube channel, and that was Downright Nerdy Podcast. Definitely check out their channel as well. They have a good podcast where they cover pretty much everything from Game of Thrones to Star Wars to toys to movie reviews. I'm a butcher the name, so I'm not going to say it. But definitely check out Downright Nerdy Podcast. And with that being said, I'll second Jack. Definitely appreciate everyone that's joining the chat. I love seeing the same names in the chat. We got a great conversation going on. Makes looking forward to Thursdays a lot more than used to. God, I can't talk for crap tonight, but with that being said, guys, we will see you next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Jack, you want to say bye?
Man, see you later, guys. And be sure to hit up comicbookinvest.com. New content every day.
All right. All right, good night, guys.